Town of Cheshire Town Council notice of public hearing, consideration of revisions to the voting districts ordinance. The Town Council of the Town of Cheshire will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022, in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider revisions to the voting districts ordinance, Section 5-1. Section 5-1, voting districts established. The town is hereby divided into 4 voting districts for the purpose of voting for all municipal officers and measures required to be voted on. Optical scanners. District 1, District 2, District 3, and District 4. By Tim Slocum, dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 28th day of April 2022. Tim Slocum, Town Council Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Milton. Tonight, to present what this is actually all about in the fulsomeness that has to follow, will be registrars. Tom Smith, I see you. Is Susan here to join you? Okay, great. Then I'll invite you all up to make the presentation, if you will, on the need for all of this and all the fun that follows. The best place is to go to the mic. And because we're in Cheshire, you have to tell us who you are twice with your address.
My name's Tom Smith. I'm one of the registrars of voters. This is my colleague Susan Pappas, the other registrar. We'll try to I see you have a lot of business to deal with, so we'll try and be briefly. Sure, 37 Wallingford Road. What's yours?
133 Spring Street.
I told you.
I didn't want anybody to know. Okay, well, we'll just brief. We see you have a lot of business to conduct here, so we'll try and be brief. Both the U.S. and the Connecticut constitutions both required that the state legislative districts be redrawn every 10 years. The state legislative districts are redrawn by a bipartisan committee in Hartford and voted on by the state legislature. As a result of this, we also have to redraw our local districts. The state legislative boundaries agreed upon by the reapportionment committee are not open to change by local officials. In Cheshire, the new boundaries leave the town's representation in the 13th and 16th state senate districts generally unchanged, with the exception of Marks Place. They do, however, change assembly district borderlines. Cheshire is no longer part of the 90th. The northeastern corner of the town is now part of the 83rd. The borders of the 89th and 103rd have moved, changing the representation of some voters within those districts. Accordingly, it was the task of the registrars to modify the boundaries of the town's 4 local voting districts to accommodate these changes. So what that means is not only do we have to make sure that all of Cheshire's voters end up being represented by the correct representatives in Hartford under the new state lines, it also means that we have to divide the town into 4 voting districts with the goal of making each of them numerically as equally as possible. We got very good numbers for this. We contracted with Geosystems company. Got us a map with census blocks with the numerical counts of people living in various neighborhoods in town. We counted them up and we drew some new lines, and these numbers and the new lines were presented to the Ordinance Committee, which now has the responsibility of either accepting or changing those lines. What else can I tell you? We did our best. It's a more equitable, even split than currently exists, and it's also more even split by 4 than has existed, at least in my recent memory. I've been here for a while. Susan, you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you've hit it.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that, Tom. I guess of principal importance probably to the voter is, well, where do I go to vote now?
Sure.
So all of this becomes very important as part of all of this as well for those who have changed. I guess the understanding is our polling places remain the same, but someone may be going to a different polling.
Certainly.
Correct.
When this process has been completed by the council. It's our next task to get in touch with every voter in town. We're just below 20,000 voters in town right now. And to inform each and every one of them whether or not their polling place has changed. Some of them definitely will have changed, but we have a strategy mapped out for notifying everybody whether or not they're going to be going to a new site. It's going to take some time. It'll cost a few dollars, but we'll get it done.
And the dollars you're referring to is basically noticing the public
Yes.
so that they know what's going to go on.
Right now, we're thinking of two mailings. We're thinking of a general mailing to everyone, much in the way that the questions are presented on every ballot or the public spending ballots, just to put everyone in town on notice that this is coming. And then after that, we'll do a second mailing notifying each voter individually about the location of his or her polling place.
And finally, the date certain for the ordinance committee to submit to the council for a vote so that people have appropriate notice to vote in a primary, for example, in August is what date?
I'm sorry,
What date, but I think it depends on when you.
when the
approve
work's
it.
done. As soon as this is signed off upon, we're gonna get moving on it.
Okay.
Our
So
work,
it's-
as far as that goes, is done. We need either to have it approved or amended,
Okay.
hopefully approved.
Okay. Well, those are the questions. I know ordinance is taking it up. I
Mhm.
know colleagues up here
Sure.
are not able to ask you questions during a public hearing. The public hearing is for the public. So I will read a letter I got from Alita Looker. It was sent to the council. She's a former elections official, a registrar. And she submitted this letter, which I'll read into the record, dated May 10, 2022, to the members of the town council regarding local redistricting. She states, in my 12-year tenure in the elections department, I participated in 2 local redistricting plans. Both involved considerable realignment of the 4 council districts. As in the present case, members of individuals residing within the census tract were very important in weighing the size of each district. I am certain that this year's effort should be respected as the best possible outcome. Please do not second-guess the hard work of your registrars and their staff. So that is from Alita Looker, a former hardworking registrar. So with that, I will invite any queries from the public. Anyone have a question, a comment, anything to say regarding this? There's a cheer team who could support you. Okay.
I'd just like to add, if a question occurs to anyone later, please feel free to contact us at the office. We're very available. And, we can also share that with the ordinance committee or where other interested parties on the council.
And also with that, Tom, I'm glad you brought that up because obviously there's probably a map online that the folks could view if they chose to.
I don't know if we have a map of the proposed districts.
You don't? Okay.
But we do have copies of them. We have copies.
I know
here.
we were given copies, so I figured maybe there
Sure.
was something.
If
Oh,
somebody
that's
wants
fine.
to stop by the office, they're welcome to come by. and
Right,
look at it.
and your office hours are the regular town hall office hours, so
9 to 3.
terrific, 9 to 3.
Yeah.
Okay, well, seeing no questions from the public, no comments from the public, I will thank you and close this public hearing. And if you will hang around, you will come up first on the agenda, so the council may have questions that you could address at that
Sure.
time.
Very
So
good.
thank you for that.
Okay.
I will close the public hearing. Okay. Now we come to the fun part. This is always a very exciting time on the council regular meetings. We start with a recognition of Angela Pontecorvo. And just by way of introduction, I presume Angela's here. If not, her works are here. Hello, Angela. I'll just say a few things as I walk down and you walk there. We won't ask for your address. But just so the folks know, all of these lovely works of photographic talent were expressed and taken by Angela. So here goes. Now, it's probably appropriate for me to read this and then give you ample opportunity to say anything you want. And then I know all of us in this room do appreciate this and everything you do. Your presence on the Facebook pages and all of the likes you get have to bring a smile to your face.
Absolutely.
Your work brings a smile to ours. So thank you.
that's
Thank you so
wonderful.
much. So with this, I'll go on with this. This is a certificate of recognition for Angela Pontecorvo. Whereas Angela Pontecorvo has taken numerous striking and vibrant photographs of Cheshire that showcase the town's most picturesque landscapes and wildlife. And whereas Ms. Pontecorvo is a resident of the town of Cheshire, and whereas her work has become well-known and admired throughout the community, and whereas her photographs are now brightening and beautifying the walls of the town council chambers and town hall, now therefore I, Tim Slocum, Mayor and the Chairman of the Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and all the citizens of Cheshire, do hereby recognize Angela Pontecorvo and offer her sincere appreciation for her work, helping to spread appreciation for the town of Cheshire, both within and outside the community. So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please do. Please do.
Wow. Thank you. Wow, thank you so much. I'm not used to this. I'm more comfortable behind the camera than in front of it, but I'll take this anytime. It's really a beautiful honor. Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody. It's been a really inspirational project, and I thank you all for choosing me to be a part of the project. And it's an ongoing project that will never stop. Each and every day, there's always something in Cheshire to find that sunset or another landscape. So it's been really fun. Thank you so much to everybody for giving me the opportunity. And it's ongoing. I hope to bring some more pictures.
Well, I know my colleagues would love to personally thank you. If you don't mind coming on up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Give you a heart handshake. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We'll just avoid that part.
He's
Thank
too
you.
busy. Right. He already did.
Thank you so much.
We'll see more.
Well, if you think about it, all of us with our phones, we can take remarkable photos, but it still takes a real eye and an expert to really take the best photos. And Angela's got that eye. So with that, we're going to move along to the recognition of Cheshire Junior Cheer. Long overdue. We do apologize for all the delays, but it was largely, obviously, a COVID-related issue. So with that, I'm going to go there, and all you guys want to surround me, I'll feel special. Now, I know you guys are used to team rules, so I'm going to let you're going to just tell me what the rules are. I assume you probably will let me read this to you, but then there's probably going to be some presentation, so you tell me what to do so I don't mess up.
We'll just follow.
You'll just,
As
okay.
yours, I'll say a little. and
Well, you
then-
obviously don't have to shake hands with anybody, so, because you're too busy holding trophies. So with that, I'm going to start. This is a certificate of recognition to Cheshire Junior Cheer Competition Team. Whereas the Cheshire Junior Cheer Competition Team earned the distinction of the D14 Small Level 1 2021 National Champions after competing against 12 teams at the National Cheer Competition in Florida on December 11th and 12th, 2022. Whereas the team cheers for the Cheshire Rams junior football and represents the Shoreline organization, the state of Connecticut, and New England. And whereas the team is comprised of 14 cheerleaders in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, led by 5 volunteer coaches. And whereas the team worked incredibly hard to put a lot of time practicing and performing. Now, therefore, I, Tim Slocum, Mayor and Chairman of the Town Council, on behalf of the entire council and all the citizens of Cheshire, express our pride in our junior cheer team, and by the certificate do hereby recognize the Cheshire Junior Cheer Competition team and coaches for their dedication and outstanding teamwork. We congratulate them on this significant accomplishment and wish these fine young athletes much continued success. So thank you. Now you're in charge, so I'll let you take over. We're just going to take my seat.
Just keep.
Probably should.
Everything's always orchestrated with us.
Right.
And I figured out how to get the girls to quietly stand and wait. We should have had some of our practices here in the chambers so that I could get a word in edgewise with them. So good evening. My name is Barbara Graziosa. I'm the head coach of the Cheshire Junior Cheer Nationals team. We also have our coaches, I can't see with my glasses on, Joanne Dragonoff and Jen Raccio, and then our student coach, Catherine Norton, who's my daughter, and then we have another coach who couldn't be with us this evening. So on behalf of us coaches, I'd like to thank the Cheshire Town Council for this honor and recognition of our first place National Youth Cheer win. We started practicing on July 26th and continued practices twice a week, right up until the night before we left for Florida on December 8th. That's 40 in-person practices, 20 weeks of practicing, running the routine, reworking the routine till we felt we'd achieved perfection. All of this we did during a very unprecedented time, COVID. COVID caused us to have virtual practices for 2 weeks. This is something that has not been done before. We may be living in a world of virtual communication, but never practices. We face this challenge. Our athletes rose to the occasion and handled the virtual practices like the true champions they are. Our team were the pioneers for all the Shoreline cheer teams and the CHS high school cheer team as they used our practice model for their virtual practices. First up was our Shoreline Youth Cheer Competition. We placed first. Where's our Shoreline trophy? Right there. Next up was our state youth cheer competition. We took second place by only 0.02 points. That's our next trophy. Our third hurdle was the New England Regional Youth Competition, which we were up against 9 other teams. We took first place, which is down there. They keep getting bigger. And received a partial bid to the Waikata Global event and secured our progression to the National Youth Cheer Competition in Florida on December 11th and 12th. So take a minute to appreciate the magnitude of this. These are not adult competitors, not even college or high school age athletes. Our national cheer team is made up of 4 6th graders, 3 7th graders, and 7 8th graders. Or even clearer perspective, 14, 13, 12, and 11-year-olds. Quite the accomplishment at such a young age. Nationals put us up against 12 other teams on Saturday, which did not concern us at all. First up was team check-in and routine review. As I looked around at the other teams, I started to notice the way they looked at us as we proudly walked in with our heads high. They could see the determination in our athletes' eyes and knew we were going to be a team they needed to be in order to earn their own success. As we completed our routine review, I went up to thank one of the judges for her time and to get some feedback. She quietly whispered to me, "That was a great routine to watch and very well executed. You are definitely giving the teams in your division a run for the championship title on Sunday. Good luck." When we checked in for mat time practice Friday morning, There were again other judges milling around that I had recognized and had gotten to know throughout the season while hosting the 3 competitions in our region. One judge in particular that was a panel judge. A panel judge is somebody who gives us our actual raw scores, saw my shirt and said, "Oh, Cheshire, your team won regionals." I enjoyed scoring that routine. It was solid and very entertaining to watch. And with a big Cheshire cat smile, I proudly said to her, "I have the privilege of being one of their coaches." Saturday warm-ups, nationals was finally here. So many emotions. We were staged in the dark behind the large curtains, ready to take the stage. I started to see a bit of, well, to be honest, sheer terror on their faces. This is definitely not the time to fall apart. I quickly circled up the team in our protective little huddle, told the girls, "Do you feel that burning, numbing feeling in the pit of your stomachs, your sweaty palms? Remember this feeling. Take a snapshot of this feeling. Take it with you throughout your life. Something amazing is about to happen. You'll feel this again in your life when you start a new school, your high school or college graduations, as you start to hear Pomp and Circumstances playing over the loudspeakers, on your wedding day, the first day at a new job. These are all great moments in time and the start of something amazing. This is a good feeling. Enjoy it. Remember it." One of our cheer dads did add, "Enjoy these moments because they do eventually fade." With our confidence restored, the girls circled up, did their spirit chant, and we coaches said good luck and headed to our seats. Saturday, they proved they were national contenders. They wowed the judges, made us coaches proud, hit 0, and as we all know, took first place on Saturday. Sunday, I could see the seriousness in their eyes as soon as we saw them. This was a good thing. Fear from Saturday was replaced by confidence and determination, which was exactly where their focus needed to be. When they walked into warm-ups, immediately, I knew the look on the faces of the other team coaches and athletes as we entered. I saw the look of concern, the look they had had that they knew we were the team to beat. I know that look and that feeling because for so long, I had been one of those coaches, looking at teams like Shelton, Madison, Homedale, who are our competitors in 2019. I knew they were watching how we held ourselves, watching to see how we ran stretching, warm-ups, watching and wondering, why aren't they having the girls do a full out? Why are they just stunting individually? I knew the girls didn't notice, but I did tell them to remind me that night that I had something to tell them. And when I did tell them, their faces lit up and will forever be a snapshot in my mind. As we sat in the coaches' seats, as the team was invited to the mat on Sunday, everything went silent, took a deep breath, and said, "Please let them hit 0, meaning no faults, no penalties." When we were all set and the DJ said, "Cheshire, it's your time to shine," I gave Peyton a nod, and she set the tone for the routine. She projected Cheshire so loudly and confidently through the megaphone, the parents in the stadium and those within earshot knew Cheshire was here to take the title. The routine went off stronger and sharper than ever. Somebody put magic jumping beans, where's Jen? In Coach Jen's shorts because her excitement could not be contained as they successfully hit every stunt without flaw. I felt like Tigger was sitting right beside me. Every time she jumped up, I grabbed her, sat her down, and asked her to wait. In every situation, there's a moment. The moment came as they came down from the wall. There were no more stunts or tumbling passes to hope wouldn't falter. They had done it. They'd done their job. We clapped along as they danced their hearts out, and I knew in my heart that they had just taken the national title and finished strong, stronger than their competitors, stronger than any practice run through. They were national champions. Getting to the cheer nationals is not just practice, dedication, determination, and perfect execution of the athletes. It's also made possible by the selflessness of the parents and grandparents that volunteer to drive the athletes to and from practices, help orchestrate the many fundraisers that we had a very short period of time to accomplish, organizing, having team shirts, jackets distributed, etc., and rally bags. The success of the team does not lie solely on the athletes and coaches, but on the parents too. Lastly, our trip itself would not have been possible without the residents of Cheshire that were very generous at our fundraisers, and especially our corporate sponsors who helped us raise the funds needed to get the team to Florida. On behalf of the team, coaches, and parents, we are truly appreciative and blessed to live in such a supportive town. Again, we thank you for this honor and recognition for our 14th athletes and coaches on our national title. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It was wonderful. And I neglected to introduce Liz Lenahan, but I think it's appropriate. You will be able to make your proclamation perfectly. It's a nice segue, so stay where you are. Go
I
ahead.
thought you were talking to me. I was going to stay where I am. Hi, everybody. I'm going to make this short and sweet, mostly because I forgot my glasses. So I'm going to do my best to read exactly what this says. It should come as no surprise to a lot of people. Peter's going to hand them to me. No, it should come as no surprise to a lot of the people here in this room that I too was a cheerleader. It answers a lot of questions that I know you all probably have had about me over the last few years. I was a bass and a tumbler, so I completely understand. I know you're a flyer. Am I right? You're not a flyer? Are you? Oh, girl, I'll put you up and I'll. Anywho, I have a citation here on behalf of myself, Representative Liz Linehan, Representative Leslie Zupkis, Representative Craig Fishbein, and Senator Mary Abrams. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to the Cheshire Junior Cheer Competition Team 2021 Division 14 National Champions. Your extraordinary success at the American Youth Cheer National Cheer Competition, the athleticism and teamwork you have developed through countless hours of working together and individually have brought you, your organization, and our community so much pride. Congratulations on this hard-earned win. The skills you have gained in your sport and as leaders will serve you well in the years to come. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and express the hope for continued success. It's signed by Senator Looney, Speaker of the House Matt Ritter, and Secretary of State Denise Merrill. And I will give this to the coaches, but I wanted to take a second, very briefly, to say I've been thinking a lot about you guys as of late. I know that what you did is absolutely fantastic and so much hard work went into it, but I want you to recognize for just a brief moment that it's more than that. Your national championship is something that you did, as your coach said, during a time when we almost expected people to be down and out, and you instead lifted each other up. You worked hard during a time that is so unprecedented and so scary to most adolescents. I don't think you understand in this moment what that means, but you will as time goes on. And being champions in this regard and being cheerleaders in this regard actually provides you with a much greater opportunity for this community. We know that a lot of kids your age are still going through a real tough time. It could be your friends, it could be your siblings, it could be you yourself. But you're champions. And when you lift each other up in cheer, I want you to remember that you also now, with this great responsibility that you have, should lift each other up. Lift up your peers. And when you see meanness, may you stand firm with kindness. When you see anger, may you fight back with happiness. And most importantly, when you see injustice, cheer for those who need it and for those who will be looking to you for that. As cheerleaders and as champions, you have the ability to spread peace, kindness, and love at a time when we all need it. So I hope you go back to school tomorrow. You feel proud of yourself in your win and confidence in yourself to continue to move forward and lift up the community like the cheerleaders you are. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Liz, that was elegantly presented, well received. we're proud of them too. And we have a colleague up here who used to cheer. No. David, speak for
unless-
yourself.
Yeah, not unless I want to end up in the hospital, that's for sure. But some of you may know that my daughter was on the 2019 team that went to the national championship. They came in second place, and that was a tremendous experience. But it's interesting, at that time, we thought that that was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. And some of the young ladies who were on that team are here again, having come back, as well as the coaches. And I know how proud I was as a parent for my daughter when they went. So I can only imagine how proud the parents are of this team, especially coming back after losing the 2020 season to COVID and coming back after doing that, pulling the team together and winning nationals. So I just wanted to say how proud I am and how express what a great honor it is for you to represent Cheshire out there, not only locally, but throughout the whole nation. You represent us throughout, down there in Florida as the national champions. So congratulations. And also, I just want to wish you all the best in your future cheer, aspirations. So thank you all very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know if you want to wrap this up with anything special or you're just ready to go. It's entirely up to you guys.
Can we do a quick picture?
Oh, of course. You got to keep me on task.
Are you a bottom?
I'll walk with it. I'll give it to you.
All right, okay.
Can I stand behind you, please?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, girls.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. We'd love to.
We should see them.
Thank you.
Cheer.
Thank you, Barbara. Good job. And I know all of us up here are very happy to be on a national team. That's terrific. I will now ask if there are any members of the public that would like to come forward with a comment or a question for the council that's not related to an item on the agenda. Any members? Seeing none, we will move along to approval of minutes. Corrections to minutes of regular meeting and budget committee meeting of April 12, 2022, April 26, special town council meeting, and the minutes of April 19, joint town council and board of education meeting, and the April 21 special town council meeting.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Thank you, Mr. Talbot. I guess we've had reviewed them. Seeing no further comments, we'll simply vote to approve. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously, and thank you, Marilyn, for that, and colleagues. We now move to consent. Mr. Mylone.
Sorry? You did? Okay, thank you, Peter. Be resolved that the town council approves resolution number 051022-1, consent calendar for May 10th, 2022. Be it resolved that the town council approves the consent calendar for May 10th, 2022 as follows. Peter, do you want me to,
Sufficient.
want me to read all of them?
No, it's sufficient as is.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion. Second, please. Thank you, Mr. Felber. Okay, any conversation about consent? We typically don't talk about it. We just vote on it. So all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We move along to items removed removed from consent. There are none. So we move now to old business. And the topic under old business is the school modernization project authorization to apply for state grant and funds. And before I invite Ms. Nichols to enter that motion, those motions, I just wanted to make a few opening comments for the public and our members of the council. Number one, I certainly have to acknowledge Liz Lenahan and representing the 103rd Legislative District and Courtney Cullihan, who is a bigwig up in the Capitol Legislative, for getting into the budget and getting ultimate approval by a vote of the legislative body, the 50% reimbursement for our school project. As some may or may not know, Cheshire was tethered to a 35% reimbursement rate. As we've learned going through this process, not every part of a building that we're proposing for the schools is even eligible for those. So that actual 35 nets out to something lower. Certainly 50% is a huge change in much of that. With that, based on information provided by Collier's Company, which is a consultant for the town on the school's project, this roughly puts the net costs to the town for the two schools at $42,800,000 for Norton and $51,800,000 for Chapman North, bringing that total to $94,600,000. If you double that, that's not quite accurate to arrive at the total, but it's a fairly close number. What's significant is the difference between the 35, which netted out to a little less than 35, and 50, which two will net out probably to a little less, is $20 million on the total project cost. And over the life of the borrowing, which is how we fund our purchase, it's a 20-year, will result in an $8 million savings in finance costs. That's predicated on what we sort of estimate interest rates to be. And at about 400,000 per million, you can do the math. I couldn't, but I had Sean do that. And with that, it's significant. I think all of us on the council certainly appreciate, and I know taxpayers certainly appreciate it. There's a variety of reasons for that. I know there's many people in town that send a whole lot of money to Hartford with their income taxes. Who knows where the money goes? We all know it's spent. And it is nice to know that, while that money is always spent on all the residents, at least this is a significant part that will help the residents of Cheshire. So the other thing I wanted to let you know is that we are voting on motions that simply are required by the state of Connecticut. They do include, agreeing to pay for this project. And we don't yet have a firm number that we've actually voted upon, but I want to assure the public we're counseled on this number and that there will be a formal vote of approval at our May 25th meeting. Its final adoption comes with the August capital budget and its appropriation. That's just the way it works in the whole lay of the land financially for the folks. So the votes tonight are serious, they're important, and they're not uninformed. And finally, council will also adopt the charge for the building committee at its May 25th meeting. The way schools are built is it's somewhat taken out of the realm of the town council. We don't give up complete oversight, nor does Board of Education. But a building committee is charged with actually executing the long-term duration of the project build-out. This is an important thing. It'll have to be populated with interested residents of Cheshire. And for that, because the motions before us speak to this, I just wanted the folks, all of you, to know that we're not waking up to this, that we're on task. So with that, Ms. Nichols, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was a very succinct explanation of what we're doing this evening, and it's my pleasure to be able to bring these two resolutions before you tonight. The first is Resolution 051022-2. Be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes the Cheshire Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the construction of a new North End Elementary School. And be it further resolved that a school's next generation building committee is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the construction of a new North End Elementary School with members to be determined. And be it further resolved that the Town Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the construction of a new North End Elementary School.
We do have a motion, Mr. Jinks. Thank you for the second. I will ask council if they want to discuss this or allow the other similar motion to be introduced, and then we can discuss both since
Can we read both motions first?
I think if my colleagues are okay with
Is that
that,
okay?
that's perfect. Thank you.
We don't have to vote on
We don't have to vote one first?
I guess we do. We do if you all agree to
Then
hold
you
the
have to-
questions
you have
to the
discuss
second.
them individually.
Okay.
Right. So if you're comfortable with that, we can ask any questions. Because there's no economy of scale here like I thought. I wasn't thinking it through.
Right.
Okay. So all those in favor? Aye. The aye has it. It's unanimous of all those present. You'll know for the record that Mr. Bowery is not present at the meeting for tonight.
Okay, are we ready for the second one?
I am.
Okay, this one is resolution number 051022-3. Be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes the Cheshire Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the construction of a new Norton Elementary School. And be it further resolved that a school's next generation building committee is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the construction of a new Norton Elementary School with members to be determined. And be it further resolved that the Town Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the construction of a new Norton Elementary School.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions on this one? Well, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously of those present. I do note Liz Lenahan is in chambers this evening. That's a Bronx cheer for those schools, but also for Liz. Certainly entitled. Good timing. So with all of that, Liz is in chambers. As you know, she was here to fet the cheer group. So with that, if any colleagues have questions about any of the financing or anything, or Liz, you have a question you want to answer if one isn't asked or anything like that.
I'm here for you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions for Liz Lenahan? Go ahead, Mr. Jinks, and then Mr. Walsh.
I do have a quick one, Liz. I assume it's an easy one.
And I hope so.
The 50% rate for new construction, it was the case that there was a higher rate for renovation. Is that still the case, or are they both 50% for renovation and construction?
They're both at 50% for a period of 25 years under this budget.
Okay, that answers my second question. I was going to ask if it was just a 1 year thing, but it's going to be
No, but I
more or
do
less
want to
going
make a cautionary announcement.
Okay.
While the language does say that that rate is effective for 25 years, we need to remember that that is for any projects that are approved, and it could still possibly change if it's written into the next budget, right? So when a law becomes a law, and this is now law, as long as we don't rescind that law or change it in the future, it's going to stay. So I caution anyone to think that because it's written at 50% for a period of 25 years, that you don't have to make a decision now. That's not the case. I would love to tell you that I will always be here to represent you, but we don't know that that's true. And so every new budget that comes is unfortunately an opportunity for change. You have my steadfast commitment that I will do everything possible that that does not change. However, do not take the 25 years, like I said, to say, we can take 25 years to get this done. So please, work as diligently, as quickly, and as carefully as possible, and get this out. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh?
Thank you. Let's hope it doesn't take 25 years. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate your hard work to get this for our town and for all the taxpayers in this town. It's a very big lift for us, and I'm hoping that the residents of this town understand how much this means to this project and how desperately we need these two schools to be built. So, we don't want to postpone this. We need this to pass that referendum this year, and I'm hoping that when they see the savings that we have here, thanks to the state, that we will be able to move forward basically at the numbers, I think, pre-COVID. It's kind of like almost where we were originally before all the construction costs spiraled out of control. So I appreciate that. Just a clarification, though, because we did do 2 resolutions there for building committees. There will be 1 building committee. Am I correct?
1 building committee, 1 resolution.
Right. So
Referendum.
1 referendum. So there will be 1 building committee, and those people are going to commit to 4 years of hard work. And we will be making sure we get the right people in place, and hopefully this project will move forward, and in a few years we will have 2 brand new schools that will be perfect for the kids of this town. So appreciate you and your colleagues and the hard work they put into getting this done for us. It's truly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. And, we're taxpayers too. So is that it?
Yes. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
much.
Appreciate you and your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, I know we voted, but it's hard to almost not, absorb the moment, because it has been a lot of hard work for many before me with the School Modernization Committee. I know the hoping and praying in across the street there in the Humston building all the time to get a new school. And we're getting close. We just need to make the public fully aware that despite the expense of all of this, and it is a big lift, as colleagues have said, this is very, very important. And it is important, and its cost did just go down a little bit, despite the fact that it'll cost more. So with that, I will move along to new business. And what I'm doing, just for everybody, we're moving the discussion of proposed amendments to the voting districts to the fore, so that the registrars are here to answer questions that any of us may have. So with that, I'm just going to open it up to whoever. David, why don't you just indicate what your body has done, your committee has done?
Right. Thank you very much. As you know, this is ultimately requires an ordinance change, because setting the voting districts is set through ordinance. So the Ordinance Review Committee met a couple weeks ago to with the registrars to go through some of the information that was presented tonight, but also we go through some questions that we might have had, as well as just getting an idea of where this goes, what the methodology was, and perhaps, I don't know if Tom and Susan want to talk about that at all, just their methodology, a little bit of what they had. I know you talked a little bit at the part of the public hearing, but that's what we talked about at the ordinance review. Sort of how did they get to where they are? What was the ultimate goals of revising these districts, and how do we go from there? So that's where we are, and we will be meeting obviously over the next few weeks to try to figure out what we're going to do, and adopting a new a new district ordinance.
Does anyone have any specific questions for the registrars? Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a comment really about the, I know, first of all, thank you guys for all your hard work on this. And I know it's, I'm sure it's very difficult to not only kind of balance everything, but also to sort of kind of take into account where current development is happening in town. I know you had to do this in a way that was a snapshot. So maybe we can't do this, but in looking at the numbers, the third district is obviously a lot more than other districts. And we know in the third district, based on new lines, we're having a significant new development in the north end of town. I'm wondering if we want to at least take into account that in our lines a bit. And I mean, nothing against the third district or Don in any way. It's just the numbers. I'm just looking at the numbers. Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of development going on around town, so it's hard to sort of, figure out where exactly we should be pulling from, but we know in the north end it's a significant new development with a lot of people coming in. So, and we know it's going to be in the next year or so, I believe. So, I'm wondering if we can take another look at this, or if Ordinance can take another look at this and see if there's a way we can kind of massage the numbers a little bit more to take that into account. I mean, in looking at the second district, and thank you for keeping me in the second district, by the way, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for keeping the second district in Cheshire. I appreciate that. The portion around where you took kind of around Country Club and around Hill Road and stuff, swapping that back into the second and keeping the new development in the third seems like a simple swap to me, but that's kind of up to you guys to figure out. I think we should try and think about the immediate development that's going to be happening in the next year or so to kind of make sure we're as balanced as can be. Thanks.
Jim, I think that's a very important observation. Mr. Walsh, I know you've spoken or want to speak to that as well.
Yeah, because I'm glad you brought that up, because we did discuss that. And I believe Thomas said that when they look at these numbers, they can only look at what the census showed them. They don't look at, projects. But us as a council, we could look at that. And if we deem it want to be changed, because I also questioned that Country Club Road, because, I mean, you're going to tell people who live next door to Chapman that they can't vote at Chapman, they have to go to Dodd. And you're going to tell people who live on Waverly, who live right next door to Dodd, they can't vote at Dodd, they have to go somewhere else. So I think some of those things, are a little, we're going to look at those and see if it makes sense. I guess my question, though, was when you look at the numbers of people, do you look at numbers of voters or number of residents?
They're based on the number of registered voters.
Registered voters, okay.
As of February 14th, which was the day that the voter data was turned over to the Geosystems company, which made the maps and presented us back with the maps with the census blocks.
And do you have an idea of what percentage of residents are not registered voters? Or do you have that?
Do you know?
Well, we don't know that they're of age. I mean, there are
Right.
about 10,000 people who don't vote, but it could be
Because
because
of their age.
Yeah, it could be.
No, I'm just curious because, sometimes when you look at the, how many are going to be voting and who aren't registered,
Sure.
those are all things that I would be interested in. But
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
having looked at this, this isn't easy. I think Peter, I said, can't we just do a line like this and make it simple? But it's not that simple.
No
So
one
and
would
I
have
understand
been more pleased than we would have.
Yeah.
But
So thank you for.
we did try to insert some logic into this as well, and not just go solely by the numbers. But
Wow, that's pretty good.
yeah, well, it didn't always work, obviously. But to your point about the third district and the developments, we have no way of anticipating, how many people are going to live there, how many people will choose to register to vote in those developments. And technically, it's a job for the people for the next census in 10 years.
Right, but I think we could.
I understand your
Yeah,
apprehension.
yeah, because I mean, if there's 140 houses being built, in the
Mhm.
north end, and then you got the Hazel Road where there's another
Sure.
couple of hundred people. I mean, you're talking, it could be 500 to 1,000
Mhm.
new voters in that one district. And man, I understand they all want to move into my district, but I can only take so many. So,
We're definitely.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To that point then, is, I know your charge is to try to get it, looking at the snapshot in time that we have right now,
Mhm.
to try to balance out the four as much as possible.
Right.
And I think by looking at the numbers, you did a great job of doing that.
Mhm.
But is there a charge to do that? So could we, for example, have 100 less in the third for anticipated growth? Because like we're saying, it's going to happen in probably the next year or two. And then it would take 8 years, and you could see the third be way out of balance as compared to the other three districts. So is there, I guess to shorten my question, is there a charge to say, looking at the snapshot now, you have to come as close as possible to, even numbers in the four?
I would say that's why they tell us to choose, like, a line in the sand, basically, is the way it is now. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, many years ago, you would have said that the north end would have been built already. And here it is 10 years later, and it's not. So we would have overcompensated 10 years ago to say that we have a north end, and we don't.
right. To your point about whether, I think this goes to what Mr. Velleber was saying at the ordinance committee meeting, is there a margin that we can feel comfortable with changing any of these lines? And my response is the same. That's really the responsibility of the council. We have very strictly defined parameters that we had to work with. And past that, it's a judgment call. You all have to come up with an intelligent diagnosis of what the future may hold. And we just had tried to give you this, as you say, a snapshot in time. That was our charge, and that's what we did.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I had one clarification, if I may, before Mr. Velleber asks this question. When you said February, you meant February of 2020 or February of this year when you?
This year.
This year.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's when you engaged the Geo Services
Correct.
company.
Yeah, the state lines were
Actually-
set by the
Okay.
legislature.
So you actually had an election under your belt. Also, you kind of had a sense, we had done an election since census, correct?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so, okay,
Well, the numbers change daily, so,
that's true.
we have to pick a spot and go with that.
Okay, so at least your approximation is based more currently than the 2020 census. I guess
Oh,
that's the
certainly.
clarity I was
Oh,
seeking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, to your last point, ultimately, the council can use its crystal ball based on shovels in the ground at this point, rather than a foreseen, project that might have been pulled off in the north end, I suppose. We have that
Would you agree with that?
ability, capacity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
That's fine. I know we don't have to ask permission. We just want the clarity that's necessary. And we appreciate that input. Mr. Bellow.
My question is because when the legislature, and I'm asking this, maybe you know the answer to this question, when the legislature picks their districts and they're trying to balance out, what a new district looks like, they're also charged, obviously, with trying to create them as uniformly as possible.
Right.
But my understanding is they go by actual population, right? And so I'm just curious. I think this at the state level, they're by population, not necessarily by voters. And so I was just curious, at the municipal level, are you're going by voters versus population? And I'm just curious how that works.
I believe it's specified in the charter.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I was just curious what that distinction was. Thank
Well,
you.
we were curious too, so we looked into it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Any other wise questions? Okay, excellent. Well, thank you. We'll get back to you on this.
Okay. You know where we are.
Yeah. Okay, terrific. Okay. Now we have a couple of calls for public hearing. I will start with A. Be it resolved, the town council will hold a public hearing at 7 PM on Tuesday, June 14, 2022 in council chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider submissions to the 2022 Neighborhood Assistance Act program applications. And be it further resolved, the town manager shall cause notice of said public hearings to be posted and published according to law. That's the motion, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Velaber. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next one is, be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 051022-5. Be it resolved, the town council shall hold a public hearing at 7 PM on Tuesday, June 14, 2022, to consider the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 5-year capital expenditure plan, annual capital expenditure budget, and be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearing to be posted and published according to law. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Read the motion, the second. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously. And finally, with the resolutions for public hearings, be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 051022-6. Be it resolved, the town council will hold a public hearing at 7 PM on Tuesday, June 14, 2022 in council chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider amendments to the Hawkers and Peddlers Ordinance, Section 13-32. And be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearings to be posted and published according to law.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Velaber. We have a motion, a second. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously, which brings us to E. Okay. E is it is to amend the mill rate for motor vehicles. Mr. Mylone.
Resolved that the town council approves resolution number 0510, thank you again, Peter, 022-7, whereas the state of Connecticut has set a mill rate cap of 32.46 for local motor vehicle taxes, with a special appropriation to be made to municipalities to compensate municipalities for any tax revenue shortfall, and whereas the town council approved a mill rate of 34.32 mils for property and motor vehicles at the April 26, 2022 special meeting, with the caveat that the motor vehicle mill rate could be adjusted should the state of Connecticut approve a lower mill rate cap. Therefore, be it resolved that the town council amends the mill rate for motor vehicles for fiscal 2022-2023 to 32.46 mils, subject to the governor's signing of said legislation.
We have a motion. May I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Pavano. Mr. Mylone?
Well, we did discuss this at our budget meetings, and we knew that there was things going on at the Capitol that we didn't control, and anticipated this. So I think our budget work has anticipated this, and I think we're in a good position to accept this. So I don't know if Sean wants
Any further staff explanation?
No, as Mr. Mylone said, we did discuss this during the budget process. As we look through the final bill, there is a little less reimbursement than we had initially talked about it at the meetings prior. In part, I know we talked about our little bit disappointment that they were using the 2020 grand list. They are also reimbursing off our prior mill rate. So there is a slight additional revenue shortfall, unfortunately, as much as they're making us whole. However, as you heard earlier, and as you'll hear a little bit later, Cheshire did quite well in other aspects of the state budget. So not one to complain, but again, in a perfect world, I'd love to see a dollar for dollar reimbursement. But yes, we have accounted for it. We'll be accounting for it as Mr. Jascott goes through the year, and hopefully we have other offsetting revenues for that shortfall. And but also good to remember that there will be some tax relief in the form of this to our residents here in town. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further questions before I call for a vote? Mr. Walsh.
Just had a quick question. The tax relief that the residents will be on their bill it would be deducted already on their bill. They're not going to get like a check reimbursement. It's just going to be off their bill, correct?
Right. No, the bill, if you own a motor vehicle, your bill for that motor vehicle in the little box that calculates what the mill rate is there will just say 32.46. And so, again, as a caveat, we mentioned from the beginning of the budget process, underlying values of motor vehicles are still up on the grand list. So, folks should certainly be prepared for some higher values there. But by this state cap, it would be higher than it otherwise will end up being. So that's it.
Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you for all those explanations. I'll call for a vote on this. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously of those present. Okay, we now move along to F, the acceptance and appropriation of $14,611 from the Connecticut State Library reimbursement fund to be used for general purposes. Ms. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved, this is Resolution 051022-8. Be it resolved that the Town Council accepts and appropriates $14,611 from the Connecticut State Library Connecticut Card reimbursement to be used for general purposes.
Thank you for that. May I have a second? Ms. Pavano, thank you.
And as we discussed, we're happy to accept appropriations this is from the State Library. Connecticut Card, I'm not sure exactly what that is, Sean. Maybe you can explain that. It's a reimbursement that goes to all the state libraries for
It is.
joint use or something.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. It's the reimbursement that we get for folks using our library from outside of Cheshire. So it's important to remember. Sometimes we ask that question as to that level of funding. So this is some of the reimbursement the state gives the town for participating in the Connecticut Card program.
Okay, any further questions on this topic? Okay, with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously of those present. With this, we move to a more sober topic. This would be the acceptance and appropriation of $7,593.50 from Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of Connecticut, Inc., and $86.40 from Ace Distributing LLC from the NIPS environmental fee to a special revenue account for environmental purposes. With that, Mr. Walsh, you're going to take over.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, you basically said the whole resolution, but I'll say it again. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 051022-9. Be it resolved that the Town Council accepts and appropriates $7,593.50 from Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of Connecticut, Inc., and $86.40 from Ace Distributing LLC from the NIPS environmental fee to a special revenue account for environmental purposes.
We have a motion. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Jenks. Now, with all of that, you've got all the fun of describing what this is all about.
This is right up my alley here. Back in June of last year, the state passed a substitute bill number 1037, an act concerning solid waste management. It requires wholesalers as of October 1st, 2021, to add a 5-cent surcharge on spirits or liquor beverages containers of 50 milliliters or less, also known as NIPS. In addition, as of April 1st, 2022, the wholesalers must provide the municipality with a payment for the surcharge on all NIPS sold within the municipality. They must continue to remit payment for the municipalities every 6 months thereafter. There is some stipulation with the money. It needs to be, these funds can only be used for environmental measures to reduce solid waste generation in the municipality or the impact of litter from solid waste. We all know that, we see them all over the roadways, unfortunately. And amazingly, surprisingly to me, our town sold 151,870 nip bottles from October 1st till April 1st. So that's how we were able to we got a nickel for each bottle. I would ask the residents, if you are using those, you shouldn't be driving with them, but please don't throw them out the windows and throw them on people's, we're trying to clean up this environment and it doesn't help, but this money we will have to decide how we're going to use it at a later date. But hopefully it will help clean up some of the garbage that's being thrown out the windows.
Any other comments, questions, or explanations? Well, I will say, if there are none, did you have one, Mr. Talbot? No. Okay. I will note for the record, Ansonia consumed 302,674. Bristol had 808,000, and Bridgeport's in excess of 1 million. So, I mean, it's difficult territory, but the bottom line is, and more importantly, is we have to come up with a decent use of these funds. I know the town manager has some ideas. I know some of our esteemed colleagues do as well. I don't know, but I think I would have a tendency to want to refer this to planning. I know we haven't voted on it, but I could send it to planning with your recommendations if you think that's appropriate.
That or solid waste.
Solid waste is a fine
maybe
way to handle it. Either way, it's
So it's
going to
really
be,
up
I just thought planning might be more creative.
Either way,
You could
either way
die
is
there, you
fine
could
with
use
us.
the money anywhere.
I could be
Okay,
creative.
that's fine. Okay. Well,
But
so
yes,
much
it
for
is
that
in
attempt.
a special revenue fund. So as we start to grow that fund,
Okay.
and decide what we can do.
We don't have to vote on that. I'll decide later, but we'll vote on this motion. Motion before us. All those in favor? Terrific. Motion carries unanimously. And with that, I will refer that later to solid waste. I don't want to think anybody, that I'm petty. Okay. Next is the acceptance and appropriation of the 2022 Pegpecia Grant Award for $33,300. Mr. Talbot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 051022-10. Be it resolved that the Town Council accepts and appropriates the 2022 Pegpecia Grant Award of $33,300 to be used for the replacement of audio and live streaming equipment.
Terrific. Thank you, Ms. Nichols. We have a second from Mrs. Nichols. Mr. Talbot.
Thank you. So from the, that's way too much information department. And to prove that I've done my homework, Pegpecia stands for Public Educational Governmental Programming Educational Technology Initiative Account.
Take two.
So the state several years ago passed a public act which collects 1/4% of gross revenue from video providers. It's collected by DRS. It goes into this account and is administered by PURA, the Public Utility Regulatory Authority. We have in the past applied for and received several of these Pegpecia grants. This is yet another in that string. I would be remiss not to give a special shout out to Noel Shepard, who did our grant writing this year, actually last year for this year's award. So thank you to Noel for doing such a great job, and happy to say that we got every penny of what we asked for. So she must have done a very good job.
We'll no doubt spend every penny of it, too. Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, I'll call for a vote on this. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously of those present. We now move along to the authorization to apply for 2022 Brownfield Area-Wide Revitalization Planning Grant Program, otherwise known as BAR. Interesting, going from NIP to BAR.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 051022-11. Be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes application for a $100,000 Brownfield Area-Wide Revitalization BAR Planning Grant, matching grant to assist with the development of a comprehensive plan for the West Main Street area. And be it further resolved that the Town Council agrees to fulfill the $10,000 matching obligation should said grant be awarded. And be it further resolved that the Town Council authorizes Town Manager Sean M. Kimball to execute any and all documents for said grant.
Thank you very much. Was that Mr. Talbot? Thank you. Thank you for the second. Discussion?
Well, since Mr. Martelli is here, I would turn that over to him since he probably has a better understanding of it.
Thank you very much. So this grant is offered by Department of Economic and Community Development. Give me a second. So, can you guys hear me? Should I go up there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. 'Cause
These mics are funny.
That's why we're getting new audio.
Yeah, we could use it. So over the past few months, Michael and the town planner and I have been really looking at West Main Street, going through the different maps and looking at all the parcels out there. And we have, since I started this job, we've received a lot of interest from both property owners that are there and then others who are looking to expand in the area. So there's definitely some planning that needs to be done out there, and it would definitely assist the community if we could have somebody come in with a different lens to really take a look at the area. This grant will allow us to hire a consultant to do a parcel identification, look at traffic patterns, look at future growth initiatives, and then also look at ball and soccer kind of as a centerpiece of that and see what that area could really be for the future. So the grant's for $100,000 that we're going to be going for. The town will be responsible for a 10% match, which would be about $10,000 of that. I really feel like reading through this, we could definitely score very high on this. We've received a lot of brownfield money from DECD. They love to go follow other planning grants with remediation grants to kind of do a whole targeted approach to where they expend their dollars. So the applications are due June 17th. I've talked to some property owners out there who would be willing to be partners in it. Also, as we continue to plan and move forward with other initiatives out there, I think there's a lot of kind of irons in the fire to really support this application to the state of Connecticut. So.
Thank you for that, Mr. Martelli. Any questions for Andrew? Please, John.
Andrew, as you look at this, I know there's some vacant land not right on the street, but behind some of the parcels on the street. And I don't know if this is part of this grant, but I think development of that vacant land behind, which could support some of the businesses there, might be worthwhile to at least explore as part of this. I don't know if the grant goes beyond the frontage on Route 68,
So
some of those rare parcels, but it's really a question and a suggestion if possible.
absolutely. So Michael and I, we've kind of already taken big maps, the GIS maps of the area, and kind of mapped out parcels that we thought could really be kind of the village district out there. A lot of the way that properties are zoned, that's kind of what we want to take a look at. And, not to get too far into the weeds, but really kind of looking at it from a kind of a design development overlay district for there to kind of all of our planning and zoning requirements are specific town-wide, and really kind of have an area where we could look at parking requirements, setback, design standards, signage, and parcels, not just on West Main Street, but also extending down Willow Street towards Cornwall Avenue, and then further up towards Ives Row, and then up the hill more closer to West Main Street as well, to Maple Avenue as well. Sure.
Anyone else? So are you sort of envisioning potentially an STD or something like that? Is that more or less what's kind of percolating?
That's kind of what's been percolating in our mind.
Okay.
And, having a consultant come in and this helping to pay for that on behalf of the community and getting all of that kind of worked out and then coming back before you guys with an actual plan for the area would be super helpful.
Okay.
Sure.
Sounds like a plan. To start a plan. Okay. Seeing no further questions, thank you, and I'll call for a vote. Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to J, which is the authorization to reject bids received for the Quinnipiac Park bathroom renovation project. Mr. Mylon.
Be resolved that the town council.
Mike, please.
Be resolved that the town council's, thank you, Peter, again. Be resolved, town council approves resolution number 051022-12. Be resolved that the town council authorizes the Public Building Commission to reject the bids received on March 25th, 2022 for the Quinnipiac Park bathroom renovation project due to the price and exclusions, and further authorizes the commission to rebid the project.
Thank you for that. Mr. Mylon, may I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Discussion.
So the building commission did look at this. They only received one bid for this project, and they felt it was non-responsive in some respects and also very high, and felt more comfortable in not moving forward at this time.
Any further explanation? Any questions from colleagues? I guess my only comment would be, is that maybe this is something we need to revisit in the capital budget. Is that correct? Because we've been experiencing a few of these down the way. Okay, great. So that's all part of that plan then. Excellent. Okay, I'll call for a vote then. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. We move along to K, which is an update from the Public Building Commission on Doolittle Bathroom Renovation Phase 3. Ms. Bavano.
Chair, this is to inform the town council that the bids received for the Doolittle bathroom renovation Phase 3 were in excess of available budget. The PBC plans to rebid the project in early 2023.
Okay. So there's in fact no motion associated with that? Okay, okay. Seems rather self-explanatory, but there again, is any of this pertain to anything associated with capital budget?
I mean, I think generally speaking, obviously we're seeing trends for bids coming in higher
Yeah.
in the current market. So certainly, there will be some discussion about the pricing we've assumed for some of these projects. And I think it would be advantageous, kind of like you just said, Mr. Chairman, to go through some of the previously approved projects with their existing balances and decide kind of where do they fit with priorities that we may have coming before us. In some cases, we may need to add some funding if those are more pressing priorities for us. If we are going to continue to be short, but I think it's anybody's guess if these prices are going to sort of stabilize or continue to be a little out of hand.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's anybody's guess. Okay, well, with that, we'll move along then to L, which is the discussion and approval of non-union pay plan adjustments. Ms. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 051022-13. Be it resolved that the Town Council, pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, approves adjusting the minimums and maximums of the non-union pay plan annually by the Northeast Region Consumer Price Index, CPI, much simpler, and adopts the FYI 2022-2023 non-union pay plan as presented and attached.
We have a motion. Who was the second, please? Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Discussion.
Yeah, I'm just going to briefly explain this, and since Mr. Zullo, our personnel director here, is here and has been sitting patiently, I'll give him an opportunity to explain. We have a pay plan for non-union employees that establishes maximum and minimum pay grades for various levels of what's the word I'm looking for employees. Okay. And we have not visited those maximum and minimums for a couple of years at least, on some back as far as 2017. So it was recommended that we look at the Personnel Committee to changing those. And Lou, would you like to come up and get into the details for us? The maximums and minimums are suggested. They make it easier for us to advertise for opportunities for people to be employed. And it's important that we keep up with inflationary rates in order to get the best employees when we hire them. So Lou, explain it.
Yeah, I think when we last adjusted the maximums was 2019. And Sean and I recollection was when we did it at that point, rather than go through the every 2 or 3 years through salary survey, that we said at that time that we were going to adjust it by the Northeast numbers. So what we did and what the numbers that you have reflect is a 1.1 increase over the numbers for the first 12-month period, 4.4 for the second. And the numbers you have are based on the current CPI. We would wait till the June numbers came in and then we would adjust the last year. The minimums haven't been touched since fiscal 17. And I think the thing to remember is you're just adjusting minimums and maximums. You're not adjusting anybody's pay. If a certain salary falls between the current minimum and maximum, that person's salary is still the same. All you're doing is you're adjusting the ranges, because from time to time, we do have employees who do hit their maximums. This year, I think we're at 3. Potentially next year, we could be at 8 or 9 if we don't adjust the maximums. But if we do it this year, it'll be just an exercise every year to take the 12-month CPI and adjust the ranges accordingly.
Any questions for Mr. Zullo? Mr. Feldman?
Just, we may have talked about this in the past, but it's been a while. So what happens when an employee hits their maximum?
What happens is their biweekly salary is the maximum, but they get a adjustment for the overage and a one-time payment. So during that year, they do earn what they're supposed to, but their biweekly pay does not go over the maximum.
And then a pay scale is adjusted. Anyone else have a question before I ask one? Mr. Zullo, so will this eliminate a need, this motion we're actually voting upon? Are we basically voting to accept going forward that you guys will make the adjustments based on the CPI?
That was the intention.
Okay, I believe that was clear. I just want to be sure because I think that is important for everyone to know.
It is, except I would just point out that it remains the council's authority to establish the pay ranges. So should you ever decide you would like to take another look at them, or it's just that this way we wouldn't have to come back every year with the same adjustment and have the same discussion.
But in the land that time forgets.
Right.
This could come out of our control, and I don't want to caution anything. It makes perfect sense, but is there maybe a little check and balance that we could stipulate that this policy be reviewed every 3 years or something of that nature? Could we do that?
I think we're obliged every year to review the salary plan.
So
by charter.
that piece of it wouldn't change, and that could dictate
I
what we do
imagine
with
Sean
this.
could present annually in June. These are what the numbers are going to be in July.
Required, right? We would present what they are for the year, and if there are any questions or feelings that they want to adjust them, then the council at that time could adjust them.
Okay.
So that way, you're not losing sight of it each year.
Well, that being said, we either codify it or we get a promise that you guys won't break, because, Tim Slocum may forget.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, we're more than willing to do that. And in fact, as Lou said, I believe it's basically required that we bring it back every year.
Okay. Mr. Talbot?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that's what I was going to say too, is that we are obligated to look at it. It doesn't necessarily require us to take an action, but I would absolutely agree with you that if we hit inflation numbers of 6% for 3 years in a row, that we probably would like to say, let's, if it was 6% last year, let's pump the brakes on this and not artificially inflate the mins and maxes.
A governor on this, and it's part of another piece of this. I'm perfectly happy to vote for this then. Okay, all those in favor signify by aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we now move along to the discussion and approval of non-union pay plan adjustments.
We just did that one.
Oh, yes, we did, but I hadn't circled it. Okay. M, the approval of general services admin 1 job description.
Okay, here we go again. We have several of these. We've been busy. Be it resolved that the town council approves Resolution 051022-14. Be it resolved that the town council, pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, approves the general services admin 1 job description as presented.
We have a motion, we have a second. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Discussion?
This is the position that we discussed that would be a floating administrative clerk that would perform clerical tasks for economic development planning and human resources, and sort of be that floating person that would fill in the blanks when those departments were busy busier different times and could be the public face in some of those departments when we needed extra help. It is just meant to be shared by those three departments. They report to Arnett, and they will do the meeting preps and the agendas and things like that, the clerical duties that are there. That we have in all of these job descriptions been a little bit more clear on the specific requirements that we want in this particular one, as in all of these that we're going to read requires the high school graduate and computer experience required and so on. So they all have those same clear responsibilities and have to have those skills in order to be employed. So Lou, you have any comments? Is that
You did a great job,
pretty?
Sylvia.
You did a great job. Any questions from colleagues? Now, when we make these changes, are there any issues to be taken up with a staffer? Or is this in contemplation of some other staff that may be coming along to do this type of thing? How does it impact our workforce?
Yeah, in this case, it's a vacant position that
It's a
was just
vacant
approved
position.
in the upcoming budget.
Okay.
Previously, in a prior budget, we had a part-time person in that role
Okay.
who's since retired. So this is the full-time position that was discussed in the budget, but currently there is no existing person until
Fine.
we advertise.
So this
for
is
it.
the perfect setup for a new person. Okay, terrific. Okay, I'll call for a vote then. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we now move to the approval of amended admin assessment technician job description. Ms.
Thank you.
Nichols.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 051022-15. Be it resolved that the town council, pursuant to the recommendation of the personnel committee, approves the amendments to the administrative assessment technician job description as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Discussion?
All right, this one is a little more complicated. I'm going to depend on you to get the verbiage correct, but we have a town assessor. This will be the second in command from the town assessor, who will be there to perform a good many of the duties that are similar and can stand in for the town assessor if he's not there. He will report to the assessor and be in charge of the office when the assessor is not there. They will be the ones that identify the taxable property. Anything I missed? I mean,
Yeah, assessors go through certification process. The assessor has certain qualifications. There's certain certifications that a assistant assessor gets. The Assessors Association, the professional association, recognizes this job position as a job that has less certification than an assessor and an assistant assessor. And so in the budget that you passed, this job was created to be the second person. It was thought that the configuration of the department, after discussing it with Jim, would be an assessor, the assessment, the admin, and the assessment technician.
and again, that has clear skills and abilities that are required by the person who accepts the job and certain
Yeah,
certifications.
it's a union position. I had to go to the union and get approval on the job description, and it'll be posted internally.
Okay. Any questions on this? I have one, Lou.
Mhm.
In the past, I presume, a department like the assessor's department could have been populated with any number of folks that over time could become eligible for advancement without necessarily meeting these specified standards. Is that the case? They were just promoted just because they were available. They're smart. They figured it out. Is this
In
not necessarily?
my knowledge, the assessors always had the assessor certifications, and the assistant assessor always had that.
Okay.
I think it's the assessment technician that people have come with various skill levels. And, you know, if we go back years, Diane Waller came
Right. Well,
many,
that's what
many, many years.
That's basically what I was
As
saying.
the,
Right.
as a, I don't know what they called it then, she was probably an assessment clerk.
She's an
But
employee. town
she
employee.
availed the opportunities to go to assessor school every summer at UConn.
Right.
And, worked her way up to become a certified assessor.
Okay. This just sort of codifies it then,
Yeah, I would say.
in a means. Okay.
I mean, this person does go every year. The person who might react to the internal posting does go to Yukon every year to take courses. It may be that she may or he may never want to
Right.
be
Of course.
to take that last
Right.
test to be an assessor or an assistant.
Okay. Thank you for that. No other questions, I presume, so I'll call for a vote on this. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we come to the hard part.
One more.
One more.
You have the approval of the amended.
We've got one more, 8-0.
Oh.
This assessment technician.
Oh, you know what? It was technician repeated twice. I apologize for that.
Yeah, that's why it's a little confusing. Okay. This is, be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 051022-16. Be it resolved that the town council pursuant to the recommendation of the personnel committee approves the amendments to the assessment technician job description as presented.
We have a motion. We have a second for Mr. Walsh. Thank you. Discussion.
And so this is the third position in the office, and that is the responsible for the office administration, researching records, interpreting deeds, meeting with the public, and so on. It's a technician job. Will report to the assessor. Does not require the same certifications that the other two positions do. But we would be looking, if we were to hire somebody new, to have a candidate who obviously has a high school graduate and has office practices and some experience and has knowledge of computer systems and data entry. And that's the reason why we put that clear down at the end, so that if we advertise it for the job, we have a clear description of what we expect of a new employee. So that's the third piece of the assessor's office.
Any further explanation, Mrs. Zullo? I think she did great.
No, it's the traditional existing
Right.
position that's been in that office that was part-time funded, and you funded it full-time for this year.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, now we're along to P, which is the appointment of the representative to the South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority Representative Policy Board for a 3-year term ending June 30, 2025. Mr. Walsh.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 051022-17. Be it resolved that the town council approves the reappointment of Mr. Tim Slocum of 1285 Lilac Court, Cheshire, as Cheshire's representative to the South Central Connecticut Regional Water District Representative Policy Board for the term of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
We have a motion. Thank you, Mr. Vellebrith, a second. Discussion, if any?
Well, basically, Tim, our chair, has been a member of this board for several years. I think each town is allowed a representative, which their RWA serves, and Tim has done a good job and enjoys going to those meetings every week. Or because to see our town attorney there and Mr. Barry, so it's a whole family there. But I think Tim's a good choice for this. And any other discussion?
Well, I suppose this is the time when I leave the room or watch Mr. D'Onofrio sort of smile at me. But at any rate, thank you for your consideration. And I suppose
I'll call for the vote, I think.
Okay,
Maybe.
that's fine.
I'll call for those
very
in
fair.
favor? Opposed? So it's a 7 abstain?
Sure.
7-0,
Gentlemen.
1 abstain. So
I can assure you I would have broken a tie. Thank you all.
thank you.
Okay, last on new business is the discussion of Friends of Boulder Knoll lease amendment with a caveat for an executive session. I'll invite members now if they feel it's important to go in executive session, or if we're comfortable in open session. Everyone good with this? Open session? Sounds great. So with this, this is a discussion. Sean, you want to introduce this for us?
Sure, and I'll probably turn it over to Arnett. I know that the Friends of Boulder
great.
Knoll approached us about a request for using some additional land at Boulder Knoll, and I know they had the conversations directly with Arnett, so she's going to review it, and then I think we're planning to take action if there's no further next at a future meeting. So go ahead.
So the lease for the Friends of Boulder Knoll for farming the Boulder Knoll property expires in December of 2022. They will be looking for an extension, but at this point in time, because it's growing season, they were hoping to be able to expand their growing area. There are two parcels there, parcel A and parcel B. Both parcels are eligible for farming according to the conservation agreement. When this lease was originally drafted, the town limited the growing area to just one parcel. And they have asked that we extend that. We see no reason at this point why they shouldn't. They've proven to be an excellent tenant. The community farm is very popular. I know a lot of people get vegetables from the farm every summer. So at this point, they're looking merely to grant an amendment to extend their growing to parcel B. And only some of it is available for growing because some of it is wetlands, and they obviously wouldn't be encroaching on any of the wetland areas.
Any questions, comments? Go ahead.
Obviously, it's during the growing season, so when do we have to act on this as far as their growing season?
You can act whenever you want. They'd love to have it sooner rather than later so they can actually maybe plant this year, but it's totally up to the council. You don't need to rush into a decision, and they will manage with whatever the time frame is.
So I didn't notice a sample resolution put in here.
There is none.
There is none? Does it?
There is no resolution.
Is there
because-
none required? Is there one required?
Nope, you guys can absolutely
We-
make a motion
We can make a motion to,
to agree. You can make a motion to agree to extend the permission to plant parcel B.
okay. So with that, I think that's pretty concise. Marilyn, you could probably construe that as a motion accepted to be made. And I would assume Mr. Velber would.
Happily move that motion. Thank you.
Okay, and we have a second from, I'll break it, Ms. Pavano. There we go. There's been some discussion. Is there a need for any further discussion? Mr. Milone?
I just curious, what do the Friends of Boulder Knoll do with what they cultivate?
My understanding is that they have members of their group and people actually purchase, for lack of a better term, a membership. And then based on your contribution, you get to collect a certain size box as the produce comes in every week or so as they harvest it. And part of the agreement is also that if you participate, you need to spend a certain number of hours actually working the fields.
Is it a not-for-profit, the Friends of
It's a
Boulder?
not-for-profit. They can't do anything for profit because of the conservation easement that the state has on the property.
And
But
how
this
much-
all falls within this.
How much is the additional land I was looking at that they're?
It's not a lot. It's,
Oh, that's all it
the
is?
additional parcel B is, they wouldn't be interested in the whole parcel. There's only a small plot
Okay.
that's really applicable for
I was
farming.
just
usable for
curious. No,
farming
that
purposes.
makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
John, just for your edification, and perhaps some others, when this first became a potential to have the Friends on that property, the obstacle the town always had was there could be no commercial growers. We couldn't lease it to somebody to grow hay and do any of that stuff because of the very, very difficult language associated with a conservation agreement, which I don't think ever should have been accepted, but I wasn't around for that vote. So we are sort of hemmed in with what can be done there. So what they can't grow for themselves, they donate. They can donate to,
Absolutely.
but they can't. They can
can't-
fundraise,
right.
but they can't fundraise by offering vegetables. It's very strange. So whatever we can do to make that property work. There's only 100 acres.
And they do educational programs as
They
well.
do. They do a nice job. They do a nice job.
Just to answer, I believe under the second or the third whereas clause, it says this parcel B is 1.67 acres.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And probably about a third of that would be actually used. Small amount.
Okay. I've forgotten. Did we vote on this, guys? Okay. I know we've had some discussion, but, okay. I'll call for a vote then if we're all done with it. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Those present.
Jeff, I'll be in touch for the language.
Thank you for that. Okay, we now arrive at Town Manager Report and Communications.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll start with a update on the COVID pandemic, as we often do. As you'll see in the graph there on the first page of my report, we are seeing a pretty volatile last few weeks. Local positivity rate has spiked over the last few days. I would caution, as I say in the paragraph here, that with the prevalence of at-home testing, we are seeing less overall tests. So I think that probably explains a little bit of the volatility. But we are seeing statewide hospitalizations rising, and certainly anecdotally, and in the workforce, seeing folks testing positive. So just a reminder to folks to try to take whatever precautions they can, and be careful, and get vaccinated if you haven't. And again, though, as of yesterday, our estimated positivity rate was back up to 14.5%, which, as you can see, really represents the second highest it's been, with the only exception being the Omicron spike back in January. So, and again, similarly, if you see the next map of part of the state of Connecticut there, you'll see we've moved from the yellow DPH alert level back to the red level with 29.9 daily cases per 100,000, at least as of the May 5th update we got, which is for the period ending the last few days of April. So moving on, a few vaccine clinics here scheduled by Chespercut upcoming. So please spread the word. Also, an announcement that we put out last week, but just for folks that may be looking for COVID tests, we do have COVID tests available for pickup by Cheshire residents at both the Cheshire Public Library and our Human Services Department here at Town Hall, anytime during regular pickup hours. So please spread the word if you know anyone that needs access to COVID tests. And again, please bring proof of residency, driver's license, library card, piece of mail, something like that. As we talked about a little earlier, the adopted state budget, we discussed some of the good news with respect to future school construction reimbursement rates for Cheshire. But I also wanted to highlight a few other items that we were notified were successfully included in the budget for Cheshire. $250,000 for additional funding for the Bartlam Park South project. $200,000 for Cheshire's Veterans Memorials improvements here in town. $150,000 towards design and construction of future West Main Street municipal parking, and $600,000 in additional funding for the Ball and Socket Arts project itself. So some exciting news that made its way into the state budget. I know the council is aware, but I wanted to just again publicly recognize Cheshire was selected as a gold certified community for economic development and land use. This was by the Connecticut Economic Development Association. We're very proud of this achievement, thankful for the hard work of Andrew Martelli, who is here with us tonight, and Mike Glidden, our town planner, on their great work on the application, and all of the great protocols and different steps and best practices that we've incorporated over the years with respect to economic development and planning. A reminder, the Memorial Day Parade is back this year in its full traditional format. This will be Sunday, May 29th at 1:30 p.m., kicking off from the Highland School Police Department area. Cheshire Park and Rec Department is still taking any final last-minute applications for participants in the parade, and there's a link there to sign up, or you can call the Park and Rec Department directly. Also, just an announcement that our new town engineer, Merrick Clement, started with us on Monday, April 25th. Merrick is a licensed civil engineer and land surveyor who has worked for Barton & Legitis, now Anchor, as a senior managing engineer since 2013. Merrick was our clear #1 candidate following 2 rounds of interviews, and He's already fitting in wonderfully and getting his feet under him. And again, we just say welcome to Merrick. We're thrilled to have him on the team. And again, the traveling Vietnam Wall, as a reminder, as our council members were filming some videos earlier today in support, but from June 1st to June 5th, the traveling Vietnam Memorial Wall will be returning to Bartlam Park. This is a 3/5 size replica of the Vietnam Memorial. It stretches almost 300 feet from end to end. So a few key dates, the Ride for the Brave, which is June 1st, when the wall will be formally escorted into Cheshire from the Farmington Polo Grounds, should be arriving around 11:15 a.m. It will then be assembled that day. The next day, June 2nd, there will be a ceremony in the morning with Cheshire High School, also a 5 p.m. Veterans Dinner and 6:30 p.m. official opening ceremony. On June 4th at noon, a reading of the 612 Connecticut names on the wall, and a tentative closing ceremony on June 5th at 4 p.m. Also, just some upcoming budget workshops. Some of these are a little tentative as we're trying to nail them down as we enter the summer months, but I'm sure more committee meetings also to be added soon. So that's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
For that, any questions? Sean, I have one. The $250,000 in funding for the Bartlam Park South project, that wasn't requested. It's not identified. What's the plan for that, and who should I hand it off to?
Yeah, so it is specified to be used towards the design of the project, which we do have a design budget as part of the budget. It's worth noting that the $250,000, we can't add to the additional appropriation without going back to referendum, which we probably won't do. We'll be discussing this during the capital budget. It is less funding that we would need to bond that we've already planned on bonding. It's also potentially less money that, remember, planning to use $2 million of ARPA funding. One option that we'd like to discuss with the council is possibly using less of that and then using that other funding for other purposes if you'd like. So we have a variety of options. Again, it's late breaking as of the budget signing. Well, signing only, I think, yesterday, but the passing of the budget last week. But it's an initiative that they saw fit to support. And
So it could also technically go towards planning of additional, or it's got to go to planning of this phase.
I think that would be, we'd want to be careful and specify with bond council exactly the uses. And I think the Bartlam South project, and we're going to get into this as we go through the capital budget, is unique because there's various phases and various components within, of course, the planned project. But as we know, with the $7.9 million that was taken to the voters, you can't increase that overall appropriation for what you specified without going back to the voters per charter. So again, that's when there's some other options we may have. Again,
Well,
to
if you
offset other
identify, like
uses
you
of
said, a
funds.
source of funding and you reduce the amount of ARPA committed.
That's probably the best way to think about it, but there may be some other options, whether it's planning for phase 2 or again, potentially using some of that ARPA money for a different purpose might be something the council considers. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I have one
Sure.
question only, because I know some of my friends will ask the Chestercott clinics for COVID vaccine, where are they held? It doesn't say that in your, it doesn't tell me where.
They're at Chestercott.
Yeah, they've recently been holding, now that they are a certified vaccination clinic, they've been holding those at their location on Highland Avenue. Yep. If I'm mistaken on that, I'll certainly send something out, but I believe that's the case for all of these.
Any other questions for Sean? Okay, great report. So we now go to, well, you have all your other status reports. You're satisfied with those, I presume. We'll then move along to the chairman's reports. I'll start on my left. Anyone have a chairman's
No-
report?
no report.
No report? No report? No report? No report. There were no reports, Mr. Chairman. Okay. So then I will have a few referrals. Number one is the referral to the Legal Labor Services RFP results to Planning Committee. Number two is the referral of registrar's salaries to Personnel Committee. And number three will be the referral of the NIPS money to the Solid Waste Committee. Okay. With that, there is no miscellaneous I'm aware of. Miscellaneous hangs out there every time. Okay. We'll move along to liaison reports. Again, I'll start on my left. Ms. Felber. Ms. Nichols.
No report.
No report. No report.
I do have a report,
Thank you,
a
Jim.
brief one.
You're holding up our job.
Unfortunately, I missed the latest beautification committee meeting last week. Andrew might have a brief report for us there. I don't know what was discussed, but I just want to mention that tomorrow night, Public Safety Commission will be continuing our work toward kind of a proposal for for that group being a sidewalk review board. And we hope to have a better plan coming out of that meeting tomorrow night that we'll then discuss with town manager and hopefully have that to the council at some point in the near future.
Jim, as long as you're on that topic, I know it's trail season. It's the bikes are out, everything. How's the Bell project going? Has there been any update on that?
Yeah, I believe we, if we haven't ordered the bells yet, we will be soon. The plan is to, I think, have an event, quote unquote event at some point when the ball and socket property opens, or when the ice cream shop opens around
Okay.
that time,
Okay.
where we'll be distributing the bells
Gotcha.
on the trail at some point soon. So
Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Okay.
Just comment on that. I
Sure.
was walking the trail about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I wish there were bells out there because bicyclists most of them are quiet. They just come along.
Right.
And I had my dogs, and all of a sudden there was somebody behind me. So I really think that's a great thing to get started. And just for the public's knowledge, there were a lot of people on the trail that were not Cheshire residents. And I had a very lengthy conversation with someone who comes weekly or several times a week from Bethany and is absolutely blown away by the ball and socket project, and he couldn't answer enough questions about that, and he wanted to know what was happening on West Main Street, Andrew, and all of those things. And we're and we really had a good conversation about that as we watched the person who was, I can't remember, Arcyy, ARCYRC. What is that? The
Spray paint.
The spray painter who's doing the mural out there. And when I arrived, it was done to here, and I did my walk, and by the time I came back, it was done to here. It was fascinating to watch, and a lot of people were watching. So if you haven't walked the trail, you ought to go see it because it's really great. So thank you. Get the bells out there.
Okay, so I guess we're going to hang up on liaisons now and move to appointments to boards and commissions.
And I have one.
Okay.
I just have one tonight, and it is to appoint George Tucker Deming to the Energy Commission. He's a new appointment filling a vacancy as a result of the resignation of George Romania. His term of office is the present to January 31st, 2025. He's a Republican. If you would sign that.
Mr. Chair, I will second, and I have no appointments of my own.
Thank you. Then I'll call for a vote on that. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, with that, we now move along to the town attorney report and communications, and our illustrious town attorney. Anything to report?
No report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. You've stood at attention quite long. I thank you for that. Okay. Council communications, any letters to the council of interest or worth sharing? Anyone want to talk about any? I read the one that was submitted to us regarding the voting districts, so that one's done. I have nothing else to report there. Miscellaneous, last call. Okay, are there any items for executive session? There are. So I will ask for a motion to go into executive session for contract negotiation conversation to include
Everyone here, Andrew's
everyone
not
here.
needed for it.
Arnett
but
Talbot,
You can go.
Andrew Martelli, Jim Jascott, Noel
Oh,
Shepherd.
Andrew's leaving.
Oh, Andrew's leaving.
Andrew can go.
You got the boot. Lucky you. Okay. Okay. So we have that. Need a second.
Yeah, and both.
Oh, town attorney.
And yes, thank you. Myself.
Excellent. So I have a second. Mr. Belliber, all those in favor? So we will shortly move into executive session while that would be
Sign that and give this to
That would be Mr. Walsh, I believe. And it was seconded by Mr. Veliver. No, I thank you for that because I forget fast.